Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Our webcast is looking at the case study, Boost Mobile and Digital Banking Engagement while Reducing Churn with Open Source Big Data. And we'll be talking about the ThreeLock Habitual AI solution based on HPCC Systems. Today we're joined by Anirudh Shah, who is the founder and CEO of ThreeLock Labs. Anirudh is a serial entrepreneur and an engineer, and he excels at bringing challenging and technical ideas to reality at ThreeLock, and he's helped to build companies such as Keypoint Technologies, and he brings over a decade of experience in machine learning, natural language processing, software development, and mobile applications. Flavio Villanusre was supposed to join us today, but is he is in China, and unfortunately his internet connection isn't working, and so he's not able to join us. But we're going to continue through his slides and his presentation. This is Jessica Lordy, and I am the Marketing Director for HPCC Systems. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is walk through an introduction of HPCC Systems so that you understand what Anirudh is talking about as he goes through his presentation, and you understand the big data platform that this is based on. Okay. HPCC Systems is not a new platform. It's actually been around and been in use since 2001. It was released as a part of LexisNexis. It was made open source in 2011, and it is an open source Apache license, and the code is out on GitHub. In 2012 to 2016, we've been continuing to build the quality of this platform and providing support and training. And in 2017, we improved the processing architecture, we enabled IoT, and we've got all sorts of training available online and free. This is a data-centric approach when we think about HPCC systems. As we know, a single source of data is inefficient to overcome the inaccuracies in your data. You really need to have all sorts of data types coming together so that you can plug those holes. Our platform is built on this premise that if we absorb data from many different sources and we transform those into smart data, actionable data, then we have the true insights that we need. LexisNexis uses this platform to run our business. So this is a $6 billion business, or it's a $4 billion business run with 6 petabytes of data. And this platform is extremely scalable and strong in order to support that type of data. You can look at the platform from the very beginning where we integrate data. We then profile the data, clean that data, standardize and normalize it, and then analyze it and deliver it. The HPCC Systems platform is the end-to-end platform that can be used to do this. If we look a little closer at HPCC Systems, it's a little bit of a different type of a diagram here. You can see that our data comes in, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, and it comes into our Thor data refinery. This is where we manage our data. We go through and do that cleaning and the standardizing in Thor. Roxy is a sub-second delivery engine. That's what enables us to do our queries and get the results back very quickly. We also have a visualization engine that runs across the entire platform. We've got predictive modeling tools that also help in your queries and to better understand your data. If we look at Thor, Thor is what enables us to really manage our data very quickly and very efficiently. It is our data refinery engine. In Thor, we manage the transformation, analytics, profiling, and cleaning of the data. Roxy enables you to perform those real-time queries extremely quickly. It's got a very high level of concurrent delivery. We have several interfaces already built in natively to the platform: JSON, XML, REST, and SQL. The really nice thing about this platform is that it's run with an extremely powerful language called ECL, which is our enterprise control language. It's extremely powerful. You only need to say what it is that you want to do. So you don't need to go in and say, in your code, you don't need to go in and say exactly how you want it done. You just tell the system what you want it to do. There's a little piece of code there, but it is a declarative language and extremely easy to use. HPCC Systems enables you to scale from very small to very large. So you can run the stack on a single laptop or a desktop, or a more complex or sophisticated solution. HPCC Systems runs in a cluster of thousands of servers that work together to deliver and process big data. If we look at the technology layer view, we've got the data consumers. We've got consumers that use batch services, visualization, Spark, ODBC, JDBC, whatever the consumers need to use for their data. We have several analytical tools that will help you with the standardization, the profiling, cleaning, so all of your data management as well as your machine learning. Everything is run with a common programming language, which is ECL. And ECL does compile down to C++ in the background, but it's much more efficient, resulting in less lines of code. And then, of course, we've got our data engines, which is the Thor cluster and the Roxy cluster. All right, at this point, I'm going to turn everything over to Anirudh, and Anirudh's going to walk through the ThreeLock platform. This is an extremely exciting case study, and we're thrilled that Anirudh could join us today. So Anirudh, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks a lot, Jessica. It's quite exciting to be here and to be part of this webinar. We at Triloca, we have been using HPCC for the past 5 years now, and we really love the platform, and we are really excited to basically work with HPCC and the platform. So starting out, I'll just give you a quick introduction about myself and my company, Triloca, and my co-founder, Sunil, so that you get an idea of where we are coming from and to set up the right context for our case study. So Sunil and I, we studied together in Carnegie Mellon, and we've been together, and we've been making companies ever since. So after college, the both of us graduated and joined electronic design automation companies out of California. After that, after a couple of years, Sunil started a company called Keypoint Technologies, which is into predictive texting engines, and he started that in Glasgow. And so we worked there for quite a few years, and that company is doing quite well. And so then later on, we started Triloca to essentially solve the problem of relevance for large enterprises who have first-party data. So and the core mission of our company when we started out was to basically focus on relevance, and we wanted to partner with marketers to make customers habitual users of their product. So there the key idea was, what kind of messaging do you create, and how do you create the messaging journey so that it's a silent hand which just nudges the user towards engagement rather than being in their face and rather than giving gimmicky offers. So I'll delve into this, and I'll delve into how we are leveraging the HPCC platform and how it actually works in production, and some of the advantages that we get from it. So I hope you have fun, and going on to the next slide. And so essentially, from a consumer behavior perspective, the the landscape is changing quite fast, and the number of touch points that consumers have are quite large now. However, and with the growing internet penetration, especially in a geography like India, the banks have an uphill battle to basically make sure that their services across all these channels, including mobile and the internet. So from that perspective, their behavior is changing, and the banks are changing with them as well. And in addition to this, what needs to change is how the communication goes out to the customers. So Richard Cowley, the director of CFPB, he says that when consumers receive the vast majority of their financial information from companies that are trying to promote an image or sell products, consumers have very little unbiased information to find and use banking features that are actually useful for them. So this, in addition to this, what we also found was that customers find it really hard to figure out what is an actual feature and how that feature relates to them, right? And how can they get value from digital banking, and how can they basically interact with it. And because they are going through a learning curve, and the banks need to help them overcome this learning curve by providing the right kind of information, which will basically more or less guide them through the features and guide them through the value discovery process. Right? From the perspective of the customers, what they are actually looking for is sort of they're looking for information that's going to actually teach them how to use the different features. Because on a banking app, you can have anywhere between 80 to 120 different features of banking that we can actually use. So we really need to help the customers in overcoming these challenges and basically guiding them towards learning about these features. So from that perspective, relevance is key, right? According to this survey done by ThreeLock, we can see that what the customers believe is like a large number of messages that they receive are unsolicited. However, the businesses don't think so, right? The businesses believe that their messages are relevant. So clearly what this shows is that there is a huge gap in what the businesses believe and what the customers are saying. And from that perspective, I think relevance is key here. Clearly relevance is a challenge that needs to be overcome. And even though it's 2018, it is still an issue. So from that perspective, I think non-intrusive the communication that will actually help businesses to solve the problem. So, rather than focusing on just trying to reach out to the customer all the time, the primary goal should be to basically send out the right message and to be actually useful to the customer, right? Because when you're actually useful to the customer and you deliver the message to them at the right time, and you don't deliver anything when you have nothing to say, then the customers actually become loyal. So what the Accenture study found was 4 out of 5 respondents feel loyal to brands that are there when they need them, but otherwise respect their time and leave them alone. So from that perspective, it was quite clear to us that we wanted to we wanted to focus and create a solution that basically makes sure that it is mindful of the customer's needs and at the same time is also respectful of their time. And it basically focuses on engagement that is conscious, personalized, and omnichannel, right? So you are where the customer is. You're making sure you understand his, what his priorities and needs are, and at the same time you're making sure that the communication that's going out is actually relevant and interesting and new and useful to him, rather than just being an offer or trying to push something on him. So the outcome of all of this is basically that's why we focused on habit forming experiences, because if customers consistently engage with them exactly what they need and when they need it, wherever they are, then using a product becomes a habit, because they to want to use your product because you're telling them exactly why your product is helpful to them, why your product is going to improve their quality of life, why your product is value to their lives, and how it's going to get embedded into their daily lives, right? So this value discovery process, and when you guide your customers in this value discovery process, that's when they want to use your product, and you don't have to, and they actually, the perceived utility of your product goes up in their minds, and that's when they become loyal customers. So that is one Habitual AI, because it's the world's first engine that actually helps you build habits, right? Because habits are really powerful, right? And habits are extremely hard to make. And it requires a tremendous amount of data processing to basically understand how people build habits, because people build habits over months, right, rather than days or hours. And we need to understand engagement behavior of consumers over long periods of time to see how they progress from being non-habitual no voices to becoming power users who are using this on a daily basis. And that is the progression that we understand and we have created using Habitual AI. So how Habitual AI works is it basically first starts out by profiling and basically creating a sort of a user profile in terms of his behavior, what features is he using, how often is he using it, and so on. And then it does a longitudinal study over a period of 18 months where it tracks the user over time and basically studies them and see how they progress from being non-habitual users to habitual users, right? And it does this at scale for your entire population of users, and it basically studies their habit-forming journeys and pathways. Right. Once it does this learning, then now it can transfer the learning that it has got from your consumers who, on their own, basically progress from being non-habitual users to habitual users and power users. So it can transfer that learning and replicate it across the rest of the population and basically create personalized recommendations, feature recommendations for each individual user. So, then you can recommend specific features of your product which a user is going to find useful, and at the same time, that's going to put him onto a path which will build habits in the long run. So our AI system is geared towards basically automating this entire process of learning the behavior and basically generating the recommendations based on the learning of existing users. right? And to do that, we have a purpose-built platform which has a data warehouse which uses HPCC to store all the data, and we use Apache Airflow to manage the automation. We have custom data connectors which connects data from which basically grabs data from any kind of warehouse that you might have, and we have developed in-house algorithms based on HPCC to actually create this AI. So briefly, this is a high-level platform tech stack, wherein the core is basically running on a combination of HPCC, where we are doing all the ETL in HPCC, and we have developed and C++ based libraries. So it uses a combination of random forest and decision trees and XGBoost to basically come up with the recommendations and to basically create the transfer learning system. And this entire system is packaged and is built on top of HPCC, and it is essentially designed to be a one-stop basically process all of deployed on create with downstream campaign engines like Adobe and then it can be or IBM Unica. So we have essentially designed the system to be friendly for enterprises, and we understand that, and we can leverage existing investments in infrastructure to basically take this forward. So, and we have tested this at scale. So currently in one of the projects that we are doing, we process around 4 terabytes of data, which 20 million customers have generated within a short span of 6 hours. So it's an extremely efficient system, and this is running on a 10-node cluster with commodity hardware. It has each node has just 32 GB RAM and a 2 terabyte SSD and a basic Intel Core i7 processor. So with just minimal computing power, we are able to generate really good recommendations, and we are able to even scale it up to much higher level as well. So I'll talk a little bit about how it works in HDFC and the case study of what we are doing with HDFC Bank in India. HDFC wanted to basically use our platform to increase their adoption on digital channels. So they wanted increased engagement on of their mobile and internet banking apps. So the key challenge they were facing was they wanted to provide customers with very specific messaging, so that because what they were finding was the customers were coming onto their mobile and internet banking apps, and they were basically exiting. So they were using it once or twice a month, and initially, and then they would just drop off and they would never come back. Some of the other behavior that we saw was people would use it like once in 3 months or once in 4 months. So essentially, they were doing a lot of offer-based marketing, wherein they were giving out an incentive to the customers to come and log in. But what the customers ended up doing was, rather than changing their old habits, they were essentially just logging in and taking the incentive, taking advantage of the incentive, and never returning. So from that perspective, they had a huge churn problem that they wanted to fix. So we basically took 24 months of transaction data from them, and that included transaction data across all channels, including branch banking, ATM, phone banking, mobile banking, and internet banking. So we took the transaction data across all these channels, and we analyzed it, and we wanted to figure out how exactly people were building habits. So from that perspective, at the end of the day, we delivered a solution to them which is deployed on-premise, and it's based entirely on open source solutions, and it basically focuses on giving very specific recommendations. So for example, if you look at banking, it has a wide variety of features that you can do across various channels. So you can do a bill pay or a fund transfer or check your balance and so on. So what the system is able to do is it basically looks at the customer's profile and what has his behavior been across all the banking channels, and then it understands what the customer wants to do, and it basically figures out one specific feature that the customer should be using next, such that the customer is able to create a sort of nudge him towards forming a habit. So if you take one example here, you can see there might be a customer who's already doing digital banking, and he's already using it for doing like a balance inquiry on internet banking. So the next feature that Habitual AI gives him is, you should make a purchase using a debit card, right? And once he makes a purchase using debit card, then it says that, why don't you make a purchase online, and so on. So it basically sort of, because it has figured out what that the behavior of the customer has become an input into the model and what he's currently doing. So the system also is geared towards making sure that we don't give any recommendations when we are not very confident. So it makes sure that at a given point in time, if behavior is showing that he doesn't need any nudging at this point and he's going in the right direction, then the system actually generates a no recommendation, as in there's no feature to recommend to this person at this point. So this ensures that the recommendations going out are actually relevant and they are adapting to the customer's needs. So if the customer changes his behavior, the system is automatically able to respond to that behavior and give new recommendations if it has any, and if it's confident. If it's not confident, it's just going to shut up. So that is, I think, a very key feature of our platform, and we've been getting really good results from the campaign. So customers who followed Habitual AI's feature recommendations, there was a boost in their digital banking transactions, and there was a significant increase in the engagement of low engagement users. Some side benefits were that there was also an increase in their average monthly balance, and their retention rates over 6 months also went up. So overall, it is giving tremendous value to the enterprise. And HDFC Bank also is quite happy to basically tell us they are quite happy with the results that they're seeing. So this is SVP Kaushik Ghate at HPCC Bank. So he heads the marketing analytics team. So he says, ThreeLock self-learning AI takes customer behavior and transforms it into actionable insights is a powerful way to build engagement. Armed with Habitual AI, we are creating and sustaining new customer habits, and we've been seeing consistently good results. So we've been working with HGFC over the past few months, and so for over a period of 8 months, and now we are rolling this out to their entire digital banking base. So in all of this, essentially, what we have learned is basically what we've learned building Habitual AI is that simplicity wins. And when we started out, we started experimenting with deep learning models and recurrent neural networks and so on to solve this problem. But what we realized is, like, when you have limited hardware and when you have to prove business ROI, it's really hard to justify high hardware costs with minimal gains. So that is why we focus on making our solution extremely efficient, and to do so, we had to use existing techniques like decision trees and of resources, and plus having HPCC system also helps because of their entire system is a cohesive unit, and it really simplified the managing of the data part. So the entire solution stack became very simple. In addition to that, what we also learned was having cross-disciplinary training within our teams. So we got our software engineers trained in data science, and we got our data scientists trained in software engineering, so that both teams, when they are working together, they sort of become one team, and they talk the language of software engineering and data science together, so that they understand each other. And when they create the solution, they create a holistic solution which not only delivers results in terms of model performance, at the same time it's also able to function reliably and in week after week, month after month in a production environment in the enterprise. And finally, we also learned the hard way that when you have nothing to say, you should shut up. When you're not confident of the recommendation, it's better not to give any recommendation at all, because you have only a few chances with the customer, and you don't want to irritate the customer at all. So from that perspective, we want to make sure that we stay extremely relevant, and we stay extremely relevant, and we don't irritate the customer at all under any circumstances, and we do our best to make sure that happens. So from an HPCC perspective, I think it has been quite an exciting journey, especially when we first encountered ECL. It was such a relief to use ECL compared to all the other languages that we had been using in the past, like Python, because ECL has been purpose-built to handle and do complex transformations on data. So from that perspective, our cycle times to basically develop complex models went down from months to weeks and from weeks to days. So it really helped us to explore the data very quickly, create a model, try out new experiments very, very quickly. So I think ECL has that specific advantage, and has that advantage because At the same time, ECL is also it's a very expressive language, and it's very efficient in terms of the amount of code that, and you can quickly, and it's very intuitive, so it's really easy to learn ECL. In addition to that, HPC Systems, because it's been in production for quite some time, it's extremely stable. So, for instance, we currently automated the entire marketing system for HDFC Bank in another project, and it's been running without a hitch for the past 2.5 years. As in, we never had to. It never went down. The process. The HPCC process basically just keeps running and running. So Thor has been working reliably, and we have not had any problems. So on that platform, we process around 8 terabytes of data, and there are around 500 different scorecard marketing models that get run on a base of 50 million customers every month on month, and that has been delivering. So it's extremely stable, and it's enterprise ready, and it's very production friendly, because all the components of HPCC are sitting in one cohesive executable. So you don't have to worry about all the mundane that other systems might keep you up. So finally, to make a positive impact, in AI, we realize that it is extremely important to work across the organization, to work across stakeholders. What we've experienced is, as an AI company, it sounds very exciting, but at the end of the day, we have to convince the various stakeholders who are not technical, like from the business teams or from the marketing or the sales teams, to basically educate them on what the advantage is and how it will actually impact their business, how it will impact their ROI. So basically convincing them and getting them on board is crucial for the success of a platform and of AI technology, because unless they are convinced of the ROI, it's going to be just another buzzword, and they are going to be skeptical of adopting AI-based solutions. So in a nutshell, that's how we are putting analytics to work in India and beyond, and what we are focusing on is basically creating a platform which a number of different stakeholders can work together so that it integrates seamlessly. So you have the analytics teams and the software teams and the marketing teams and the campaign teams all working together as one team, so that we can basically create a solution that can actually deliver results in the real world, and so that marketing can create authentic customer conversations and build brand loyalty by becoming a part of the customer's daily lives, and so that the customer's behavior is better understood and you treat them not in a segment but as individuals. So with that, that's the end of my talk. Thanks very much. We are open to the questions now.
Exactly. So for everyone that's on, we welcome your questions. In fact, we would love to answer them. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a panel where you can input your questions. So please submit those through, and we'll go ahead and answer them. Flavio has still been unable to rejoin the webcast, but I will field whatever HPCC questions I can. And Anirudh certainly has a lot of very deep experience with the platform and can help answer any of those as well. One thing I would say is that we are extremely excited about this case study, and I hope that you guys are too. So let us know if you have any questions, and we will address those. All right, it looks like we have a few of them that are coming through now, Anirudh. Here's our first one. What has your experience been using HPCC Systems as a startup?
Thanks, Jessica. That's a really good question. When we started out using HPCC, quite scared because it was a really big bet that we were making. But I think in hindsight, I think it has been quite a good decision to use HPC Systems primarily for three reasons. One, we didn't have to because back in 2013 when we took up HPC Systems, the Hadoop and the other big data the platforms were not really mature enough, and they were still finding their way. Whereas HPC Systems was quite cohesive and extremely efficient. So from that perspective, the whole reliability aspect and the efficiency aspect of HPCC Systems has been quite beneficial to our startup, especially when we go and pitch to banks and other institutions. They are looking for ROI, and from ROI perspective, it really delivers the right bang for the buck because of its extremely memory efficient architecture and the amount and the results it delivers in terms of like both stability and speed. It's a tremendous platform, and I would definitely recommend exploring HPC Systems wholeheartedly. Yeah. Any other questions? Hello? Jessica, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Sorry. So it looks like we have another question here, and it's your case study shows the potential of your technology for the Indian banking sector. Can you translate the relevance to the U.S. banking sector?
Sure. That again is a very good question, Jessica. So from the potential of the tech, what we do is when we work with clients, we have created a system which actually learns the behavior of the population that we are studying. So rather than having preconceived notions of marketing, what we do is we basically actually learn everything from data. So there are no existing rules set up on the system or imposed on the system. We actually take the underlying data and the underlying behavior of a given bank, and then basically run it through our AI. So at the end of the day, the solution will be basically will learn from your data and give recommendations and give specific recommendations for your consumers based on the behavior of your consumers. So it's basically applicable worldwide. It doesn't matter where the consumers are, because their existing behavior will be captured in the data, and that's what it's going to learn.
All right, fantastic. All right, here's another question. What is ThreeLock's engagement model with clients?
So we work on three engagement models. So we do short-term project-based consulting where we consult on AI and machine learning-based technologies. We also give Habitual AI as a solution that we go and deploy on-premise so that you have complete control over the system. And we also give out, we also can provide you the underlying platform that we have built, which basically integrates everything from data visualization to HPCC to all the data connectors, and create a cohesive deployable stack wherein you can just come in and deploy that solution and you're good to go.
Okay, great. Here's another question. How is the technology deployed in organizations?
So Habitual AI gets deployed on-premise, and we essentially work with all the stakeholders across the organization to make sure that they understand the value that they're getting from Habitual AI. And we also work very closely with them to make sure that it meets their business needs, and it basically helps them understand what they're getting out of Habitual AI and how it is impacting their business. So it is essentially an on-premise model where everything gets deployed and you have full control over the system.
Okay, that's great. Right, wonderful. Okay, it looks like there's another question that's come in, and certainly we invite anyone else in the audience. If you have any additional questions, please send them in. I think this is the last one we have right now, but we have time for more. So the question is, other than banking, what types of businesses do you see Habitual AI being a benefit for?
So currently, we are actually exploring a number of other business verticals. One vertical that we are exploring is retail, and the other one is mobile applications and web applications specifically. So if you have, let's say you have a really complex application like a CRM tool, wherein you have where you have a large number of features, and customer adoption is a key problem, wherein Habitual AI can come in and basically help the onboarding process and basically ensure that your customers are continuing to discover new features within the product and are able to basically derive value from your product and make sure that they are engaging on a consistent basis with the product. So from that perspective, it's applicable to a wide variety of industries. We are currently doing a couple of pilots with mobile application providers who have rich applications with a large number of features, and so those pilots are going on.
Yeah, I think that's one of the beautiful things about what you've put together, Anirudh, is just the flexibility of the model. And any time that you're looking for people to learn and to adapt to something, this is certainly applicable. Mm-hmm. All right, it looks like that. Go ahead, Anirudh.
No, nothing. Please go ahead, Jessica.
All right. Okay. So we're really thrilled, Anirudh, that you could join us today. This is a fantastic case study and a wonderful implementation, and we're just thrilled that you would come and share your time with us today. So for anyone who's watching after the fact, please feel free to reach out to Anirudh. His email is here. You can also download the deck, and Flavio's email is there at the beginning. And again, many apologies for his technical difficulties, but he certainly is happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding HPCC Systems. Also in the attachments, we've got some links, both to the Habitual AI solution as well as ThreeLock, and we've got some information there on HPCC Systems. Thank you all so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening in.
Thank you.